ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to begin. Excellencies, ministers present and deputy ministers, and particularly the media contingent, our media colleagues from Colombia, welcome. The program is short and straightforward. I am going to invite the Deputy President to make his opening remarks, and then followed by the Vice President of Colombia to make her opening remarks. We'll then take questions from the media contingent. We will begin with the Colombian contingent. We are allowing 3 questions. The South African media is allowed to pose 2 questions. Thank you very, very much. May I invite, well, our friends have flown in from afar, so they do deserve that extra question. I invite His Excellency, the Deputy President, to make his opening remarks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bugani. Let me once again warmly welcome Your Excellency, Madam Francia Elena Márquez, Vice President of Colombia, and your delegation. Also welcome Minister Naledi Pandor, our ministers. I see we're joined by Minister Nchaveni, Deputy Ministers, Ambassadors, DG, and the whole of our delegation. I would like, on behalf of the South African government, express our sincere gratitude to Vice President Márquez for visiting our country. We know that she will be traveling to Kenya and Ethiopia, but she chose to start here. We are very pleased, Madam Vice President, that you chose to touch base with us first. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, you are welcome. We did chase you away earlier because we wanted to talk quietly. But we can tell you now that we have just concluded very fruitful discussions between our delegations. Vice President Márquez is obviously here to revitalize once more our bilateral relations with Colombia, but in particular the African continent. As you all know, that a big number of people of African descent in Colombia, and we would like that reconnection with the African continent. So this is a very historic visit by the Vice President. Of course, as decided upon by President Petro, and we are grateful, Madam Vice President, that he allowed you to come. The areas that we looked at today, and I'm just going to highlight them briefly. We looked at areas of common interest, including agribusiness, defense, mining, science and technology, sports, arts and culture, tourism, transport, and we are finalizing agreements in that regard. Most of our ministers and deputy ministers are working on these agreements. So the drafts are there, and we have shared our views with our counterparts. They've also indicated where they are on these issues. There are issues that the Vice President raised, particularly with a lot of passion. On one of them is that South Africa should participate in the peace process that they are involved in. We have agreed to be part of that. Secondly, the Vice President is very keen that we revitalize tourism between our two countries. Sports, arts and culture, tourism. And one of the things that will ensure that we revitalize those areas is to ensure that we address the issues of visas. So we are working on that. There's a proposal that we should look at how we can ensure that it's not difficult to visit our two countries. So the issue of visas will be attended to. And on the issue of sport, I didn't know earlier, but I was quite interested to know that Colombia is very interested in us sharing our expertise in rugby. They pleaded that we should bring a lot of workers. There are a lot of rugby players in Colombia. I think you said 16,000 players. So we are going to look into that and see how we can promote sporting activities, including rugby. The Vice President told me that she would like Africa to participate in the book fair next year, April, as the guest of honor, so we're going to work on that. But she's also working in a program called She Sport for Africa, where she would like to see African women in sport participating, and she would like to encourage a program like that and host it. So I would like to say to particularly our guests here, the media, that we've had very successful engagement in all these programs. We will be finalizing these agreements. What is more important is that in concluding our discussions, both sides agreed that we are committed and committing ourselves to implement these agreements. We have agreed because we want to see faster implementation. And sometimes when you don't have formal agreements, it's difficult to ensure that you can move forward. So we have now agreed. We're going to finalize these agreements and ensure that we implement. The Vice President has also invited us to come to Colombia as part of strengthening our bilateral relations. We have agreed. We have agreed. We want to strengthen our bilateral relations, but also, most important, people-to-people relations. That is even a most important one for us in the field of culture, sport, as I said. So, Madam President, we would like to wish you a pleasant stay in our country. I'm particularly happy that you visited Freedom Park today, and you will be visiting some of the important cultural areas, but I'm told that you'll also visit Soweto, one of our biggest, beautiful township. I hope that you will be able to have lunch there in the township. So we wish you a pleasant stay here. This is really a beginning of us reconnecting. We are particularly happy, as I said, that you started here. And we want to wish you a safe journey as you move to Kenya and Ethiopia to be able to have fruitful discussion there. So on behalf of the South African government, I really extend a warm welcome once more to the Vice President and wish her a pleasant stay in our country with the delegation. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Deputy President Paul Mashatile, I would like to take this opportunity now to invite Vice President Márquez to make her opening remarks. Excellency.
Señor Vicepresidente Mashatile, gracias por su acogida en su país. Gracias a toda su delegación de gobierno y saludo, por supuesto, la delegación de nuestro gobierno que nos saludar desde aquí toda la comunidad sudafricana por habernos permitido llegar a su territorio en esta visita oficial. Después de 26 años, Colombia no tenía una visita oficial al continente africano y de manera particular a Sudáfrica. Tengo que decirle, vicepresidente, que cuando decidimos hacer esta gira al continente africano, esta visita oficial, recibí en mi país muchas agresiones y muchos mensajes de la oposición, mensajes que planteaban que no teníamos nada que venir a hacer acá, que no podíamos venir a gastar tanto dinero en esta visita. Por supuesto, una visión muy colonial, ¿no?, de que hay entre las naciones y que se ha quedado rezagada con una imagen del siglo X, XVIII, o del siglo XVI, ¿sí? Y por supuesto hoy venir aquí y saber que hemos establecido una mesa de trabajo entre las dos delegaciones, la delegación de su gobierno, el gobierno de Sudáfrica, encabezada por usted, y la delegación de nuestro gobierno, encabezada por supuesto por quien les habla, y haber tratado tantos temas que para mí era como que, ¿será que estamos planteando muchos? Pero ponerlos todos sobre la mesa es una evidencia de la falta de una conexión y de un diálogo que ha estado aplazado por mucho tiempo, de una reconexión que ha estado aplazada por mucho tiempo. Por supuesto, tanto en su nación como en la mía quisieran ver resultados ya. Sin embargo, sabemos que los resultados pasan por acuerdos bilaterales que tendremos que hacer, y para eso tengo que decir aquí que hemos planteado que la primera mesa será las consultas políticas que tendremos que hacer, y por supuesto los memorandos de intención que aquí ya se han venido trabajando en términos de cultura, en términos de turismo, en términos de educación, por supuesto en términos de cooperación en general, que hemos planteado esos memorandos en términos de deporte, de agricultura, que es tan fundamental para la soberanía alimentaria de nuestros pueblos. Me alegra mucho llegar aquí y encontrar las puertas abiertas de su gobierno para trabajar con el nuestro en términos de cambio climático, de justicia racial y de justicia de género. en una
racial
apuesta de
justice
reconstrucción
and
de
gender
memoria histórica,
justice,
de
for the
intercambio de
reconstruction of
experiencias.
historic memory
Y por
and
último
sharing
decir que estoy
experiences. And I
muy
would
contenta
lastly
como mujer de
like to say
saber
that I am
que
extremely
vamos a
pleased
impulsar
as
juntos
a
ese
woman
programa de Ella
to
Exporta
push
África, que es el
this
nombre que le
program,
hemos
which is
colocado
She
desde
Exports to
Colombia, pero
Africa.
queremos que las mujeres africanas,
We would
sudafricanas
like
también
African,
puedan
South
exportar
African women to
a
be
nuestro
able to
país
export towards Colombia
servicios
as well.
y bienes
Goods
que nos sirvan a
and
todos como
services
humanidad y que nos sirvan
that
en términos
will
de
be
un
useful to us
fortalecimiento
as
recíproco.
humanity
Gracias,
in a reciprocal
vicepresidente,
way.
por
Thank you very
recibirnos
much,
con
Your
tanta
Excellency,
alegría, con tanto
Deputy
amor.
Minister,
Gracias
for receiving
por
us with so much
habernos
joy,
llevado a
so
este
much love.
monumento que sabemos
Thank you for
representa
making this
mucho no
moment
solo para
possible. We know that it
ustedes
means a lot,
como
not only to
sudafricanos, sino
you
también
as
para
South
toda la
Africans, but
humanidad,
also
que la
to
libertad
humanity
ha
as a
sido el
whole.
símbolo
Freedom
de las luchas.
has been
Fue conmovedor ver
embodied many
tantas
times in this
personas que
country
en
through
esa
your
apuesta por la
struggles to
libertad,
freedom. We
por
must
la
keep
emancipación,
choosing
sí,
freedom,
por la dignidad, por la
emancipation,
paz,
dignity,
perdieron la
and
vida.
peace.
Tantos
So many
muros
people
llenos
lost
de
their lives
nombres,
for these causes. The
que por
walls that
supuesto
I
es lo que
saw
queremos
this morning are
intentar
full of
parar en
so
nuestro
many
país.
names
Y por eso le hemos
that
extendido la
your
invitación de
country
hacer parte
deserves
como
to be
país
recognized
garante de
as
los
a very
diálogos
experienced
que
nation in
seguimos
terms of peace
haciendo en
building, which is
Colombia
why I
para la paz
invited
total.
South Africa to
Y
join
un
us as a guarantor
avance de
country
diálogos
as
de
we
paz
move
que por
forwards in the
supuesto
peace
arrojó un acuerdo
discussions
que tenemos que
towards total
implementar,
peace.
el acuerdo firmado entre
We
las
still
FARC
need, of
y el
course, to
Estado colombiano. Ahora
continue
estamos en una mesa de
implementing
diálogo
the
con el
2016
ELN
peace agreement
e
between the government
intentando
and
establecer
the
otras mesas
Revolutionary
de
Armed Forces
diálogo
of
con
Colombia,
otros actores
but we also
armados
need at the same
que siguen
time
poniendo
to
la
keep
vida en riesgo de
strengthening and
los
accelerating
colombianos
the
y
negotiation
colombianas.
tables for peace
Y
with
hemos
other
escuchado de
armed
parte de
groups.
ustedes con la
We've heard
experiencia de
from
paz
you
y de
about the
reconciliación que
experience
tienen,
of peace
su
and
disposición para
reconciliation,
acompañar a
and
Colombia
we
en
are
esa apuesta
extremely
de paz
honored
total.
that you accept
Entonces,
to support
agradecidos,
Colombia
les
and join
esperamos
us
en
on
Colombia
this
con los
path
brazos
towards total peace.
abiertos
We
y
expect
esperamos que
you soon in Colombia with
esta
open
primera
arms,
reunión
and we
oficial que
hope
tenemos
that
en el
this
marco
first
del
official
gobierno
meeting,
de Colombia, en este
this
momento el
first official
gobierno del
visit
presidente Gustavo Petro,
of the
el
government
gobierno del
of
pueblo,
Colombia, of
nos
Gustavo
permita
Petro, the
entonces
government of the
seguir
people,
avanzando y construyendo
will
en
help us
fortalecimiento de las
to keep
relaciones
strengthening and
políticas, de
building
las
our political
relaciones
relationships,
diplomáticas,
our
de las
diplomatic
relaciones culturales
relations,
y por
our
supuesto de las
cultural
relaciones
relations, and of
económicas.
course,
Muchas
economic
gracias.
relations. Thank you very much.
Excellency, Vice President Francia, Elena, Márquez, gracias. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll now take questions from the Colombian media. So,
Señor vicepresidente, señora
Madam
vicepresidenta,
Vice
muy buenos días.
President,
Saludo de Colombia.
Your Excellency,
Señor
Deputy President, good afternoon.
vicepresidente,
Greetings from
Colombia le ha
Colombia.
hecho una solicitud formal que para nuestro país
Mr.
es
Deputy
vital,
President,
porque ahora que
Colombia
estamos hablando del futuro de la
formally
paz, y
requested
es que sea
or
garante.
invited you,
Entendemos
sorry,
que su
to
respuesta es
participate
sí.
as a guarantor country. Is your answer a yes?
we'll allow the Deputy President to answer that question first before we move on to the next one. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I thought that I said that South Africa has accepted to assist the peace process in Colombia. The details we'll discuss with them. So we have agreed. We will work with Colombia to support the peace process. We will be discussing with them the details, and as I said, they have invited us to come there, and we have also agreed. Thank you very much.
Gracias.
Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll do what in South Africa we might call inner ete. One for you, one for me. So I'm going to take a question from the South African media next. Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
everybody. It's Natasha Puri here from SABC News. Deputy President, just on side matters, other issues, the elephant in the room, you lead the Interministerial Committee on South Africa's ICC participation. I just want your reaction to the US ambassador's claims that a Russian naval ship was uploaded weapons and ammunition. And if I can just squeeze in another question, please. Did the IMC meet? Because correct me if I'm wrong, you were supposed to meet this past week. And if not, when will the IMC meet? Thank you.
Natasha, I thought you were going to be so excited about, revitalizing bilateral relations with Colombia. It's a historic day. Let's focus on this good initiative. Some of the things are going to be addressed elsewhere. You know that very well. So let's focus on this good initiative. The Vice President is here. Ask her more about Colombia. Very nice country. We're looking forward to doing a lot of beautiful things with them. Let's do that.
Thank you, Deputy President. The lady at the back there, thank you.
Muchísimo gusto, vicepresidente.
Hello, Your Excellency, Deputy
Muchísimo
President.
gusto desde Colombia.
Greetings from Colombia. As regards the proposal of Vice President Francia Márquez regarding the opening of new embassies in Africa and Colombia, and the development of commercial airline connections between our countries, what did you define?
The interpreter said, what did you define? I suppose you mean, what did you agree on? We have been working on the issue of South Africa having an embassy in Colombia. Minister Pando briefed me. There were challenges, we went through COVID-19 and a lot of other challenges. So that matter is on the agenda. We are looking at it because it will help us. But of course, it's not something we can do overnight. So we are busy with it. We are looking at how it can be done. And Minister Pando is leading us on that. But in the meantime, our ambassador to Venezuela, who's here, Ambassador Maseko, is already ensuring that we are actively involved in Colombia as we speak. So it's not like there's a vacuum. The new airline, we've also agreed that let the aviation authorities look into that. It's obviously a positive thing if it happens. I was saying earlier that the ambassador told me that it takes 40 hours to come from Colombia to South Africa. So we need to shorten the route. And also want more people to come here from Colombia, more people to go to Colombia from South Africa. The Vice President has raised that passionately with us to look into this matter. So we have agreed it's one of the issues that we are ironing out.
Thank you, Deputy President. We are going to take the second and, according to our initial agreement, last question from the South African media. And I would really encourage that question to be directed to the Vice President, who is also here, may I remind you. So if you guys are ready. Who's posing the question, or are we forfeiting this last question?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Madam Vice President, my name is Thabiso Mthembu from the Citizen. My question is posed to Madam Vice President. In terms of, or let me say, this question is posed to Miss Vice President and Mr. Deputy President. I want to understand that in terms of the bilateral relations between Colombia and South Africa, what is it that you actually value the most between these two countries that you are willing to actually work towards making it a realization to a point whereby it benefits both countries, South Africa and Colombia? Thank you.
Well, I think what I value the most in this relationship is to make progress towards global peace. Because in Colombia, and I know for a fact, in South Africa as well, we've experienced similar situations of violence and conflict that have brought humanity to suffer. And with our mutual experiences, we can table relationships that put our citizens and peaceful coexistence at the heart of our work, so that we can avoid violence between our citizens and conflicts between nations. This is part of a joint effort on which we are going to work. Second, I am a woman of African descent, and being able to work on the reconstruction of historical memory between Africa as a continent and Latin America and the Caribbean as another continent, and especially Colombia, is, of course, a project that I deeply value, which has a lot to do with the re-establishment of our cultural and historic ties. My ancestor came from those lands. I don't know exactly where they came from in Africa, but I am sure, nonetheless, that moving towards this reconnection is part of a historic debt that humanity has towards people of African descent throughout the world. And also with all people of African descent and people of Africa. Thirdly, humanity is currently faced with a climate crisis, planet-wide. We must work together through the African Union, where, of course, South Africa plays a very important part, to jointly tackle climate change, which I believe is fundamental in this bilateral relationship.
I value this relationship because it gives us an opportunity to contribute towards bringing peace. As South Africa, we don't support wars. We support peace and peaceful resolutions of conflicts. And working with Colombia gives us an opportunity to contribute to that, not only in Colombia. The Vice President indicated when we met that they are very interested working with the African Union. So we'll be working with them in the continent and thus be able to contribute to global peace, as the Vice President said. But also making it exciting to reconnecting the people of Africa and Latin America, people of African descent, once more enjoying our shared values. We have a lot of shared values, our cultures and so on, because life is about people. So reconnecting as people is the most important thing for us, and this agreement gives us exactly that. We are excited, we are looking forward. Madam Vice President, we are coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellencies. The gentleman at the back there will ask the last question.
Vicepresidenta, Vicepresidente.
Madam Vice President,
Buenas tardes.
Mr. Deputy President, good afternoon.
Vicepresidente, usted inició su intervención
Madam Vice
hace
President,
unos minutos
you
hablando de
spoke
las críticas
at the beginning
que
about the
recibió Colombia
criticisms that you faced in
antes de
Colombia
este viaje.
before
Y
you
lleva muy
embarked
pocas
on this
horas de
trip.
haber llegado a Sudáfrica
You
y
have
en su
only
primera
been in
reunión
South Africa
bilateral
for a few hours,
ya
and
logró
your
una de
first
las noticias
bilateral
tal vez más
meeting
importantes que en
achieved
este momento deben
one
estar
of
celebrando
the
quienes quieren la
most
paz en
important
Colombia. ¿Qué mensaje
results
hay para enviarle
that
a los
the people who want
colombianos
peace in
hoy
Colombia
desde
are
Venezuela?
certainly celebrating. So, what message could you send to everyone in Colombia? Well, this message is that with happiness, engagement, and love, we keep working on Colombia being a world power of life. And being a world power of life implies a connection with the peoples with which we have similar histories. If we work on peace, on social justice, on racial justice, on gender justice, we can build a shared agenda. And I wish to remind that what we seek is to dignify the lives of women also, the humanity of women. So one of the big agreements that we agreed on is this wonderful program that we're about to launch, which is Export to Africa for Women. We would like this to be reciprocal, allow African women to also export their goods and services to Latin America and to Colombia specifically. Such is the message. I don't think we are wasting time here. This is how you rebuild common values, shared identities, and this is how you also strengthen a government strategy that has a global view. I'd like to tell Colombian citizens that we are making dignity a daily value. We are reconnecting, rebuilding ties with Africa, the birthplace of humanity. We are here on the land of a leader that meant so much for humanity, our leader Nelson Mandela. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice President Márquez. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the conclusion of our press briefing. The Deputy President and the Vice President will take leave and followed by the ministers. Please may I ask you to remain seated until they have left the room. Then we are done. Thank you so much.